Okay, new recording for the muscle mass aspect of it. Now, like I mentioned, I was probably about 24 kilos more when I was a pro, which is fine. That's been a long time, so I don't care about that. But the 15 kilo is a lot of muscle mass lost. Um, and when I describe it to anybody, I basically say I'm starting from a negative place. Now, as a professional athlete, a world-class athlete, you train incredibly to high levels. You take your body, and so for me, when I say negative, it may not seem negative to another person, but it is really negative in the sense that I'm behind in my muscle mass period. So much so that when I am active doing things, and I did start walking okay for a little bit, and then everything went to hell because my my body, the left side, which is where the damage was, couldn't handle the activity because there was no strength in any of it. So I have all these little, I've got tendons and there's not really ligaments, but tendons and muscle that and all the connector areas that are getting that are painful at times. And so I had to go to something I never liked to do before because I like to full out train. I have to go to using the bands and doing all this kind of really patient, slow work to strengthen all of the areas that are really important so that it'll stabilize my hip area, and it will help me to start to build all the other muscle, which I'm good at. I know how to get strong. I know how to get in shape, but I don't know how to get past this negative aspect. And that brings another component into it, which I'm going to bring in, which also ties into the breathing sciences as well. One of my fields is behavior. I'm not a behavior psychologist, but what I've studied is behavior in relation to physiology and breathing, and with my professional background as an athlete, I really understand the body and everything you could imagine when it comes to the body. But the psychological aspect coming into this also comes into the physical. It comes into the breathing, like I said on the other recording, with breathing. If you look at breathing as a behavior, and that I will show you, and it'll be clear. And anybody who says, "Oh, this is what's right," you can't, because it's a science, and there's so much science out there. Every friggin' textbook out there that's in the field of psychology will show you the behavioral type stuff I'm talking about, and every single textbook out there in medical sciences will show you the other side of it that I'm talking about, and the medical physiology and all of that. So, but when it comes to the muscle, here's the first step I've taken, and I just started it a couple weeks ago, and all right, it's about 3 minutes and something. I'll continue with it now because I'm talking about it. I know it'll be like 6 minutes or whatever, which can get a little long. But anyway, what was happening for me is when you have injuries, and you, as an athlete, you just do things. You're still strong in your body. You do things, and then it affects something. And you're laid out for a bit. For me, it was more my back, lower back, which was affected, and well, the hips to a degree, but the lower back. And so, from a psychological standpoint, it got embedded in the sense that it was unconscious, that when I would feel pain because I was doing some activity, I would shut down as far as doing stuff to progress my body, because there was a fear that was unconsciously stopping me from going forward. Okay, now that was with the back, and where I live now, when it's winter and the ice, that's when the back gets affected, and I'm like, oh shit, I got to walk out in the ice, and I put spikes on my shoes so that I won't slip, and it's a little scary for me in one way if I'm being honest, because if one of those like slips and you catch yourself and I'm in trouble. But all of that was holding me back. Now I work a lot with people from a behavioral standpoint in a completely other way, and I do that as one of my businesses. But it's one thing to understand this, and it's another thing to be able to do something with it, because we're unconscious so much of the time in that regard. We're not as conscious as we all think. So I know this happens. I know I'm afraid of it, but the unconscious part of it happens without me being really aware of it and being a part of it. And that'll make sense to some people who can see an abstract aspect, and other people may not, but trust me, it's real. So the more recent stuff that's happened is my hip, because I broke the hip in a couple places when I had my accident. And oh, by the way, I tore the shit out of my left leg. Sorry for the language I did, but what's happened now is the reaction in my left leg because of the walking. So the left hip works, the groin hurts, the groin will hurt, the quad will hurt, then even the knee area will hurt, and I would go into the whole same thing that I was doing before, and I knew it, and I said I knew it. So what I did was, because of my behavioral background, I decided to apply behavior modification to it. I already knew what was going on, so the behavior analysis part was there. But the modification part, what I did was I grabbed these, what they're called, they're walking sticks. They use them to hike, people do, and older people use them because they don't feel safe walking, and you see them all over the place in Europe, and where there's mountains, in Scandinavia, and so anyway, I went and bought a pair of these, the kind you could fold up and take with you, and I took it on my vacation a couple weeks back. Well, actually, to precede that, I took a business trip, and I was afraid. I was like, how am I going to get around? And I'm not using crutches. No way am I ever going back to that. So I brought these sticks, and it was the first time I was going to use them, and I got help in the airport because I was worried about the long ways I had to go. I was going to London, where I was getting on and where I was getting to, and I had the sticks for the rest. So that's what I did, and I was okay with it. It worked. I could walk, and I did that. But anyway, what I'm doing with this is now I go out walking. I already did it a little while ago. I go out walking with the sticks. It gives the rhythm of my walking, and when I feel pain, instead of thinking I'm in trouble and the unconscious kind of taking over and trying to get me to kind of shut down, I keep walking to walk through it, because I would try to walk through it when I didn't have the sticks, and it would be hurting the whole time. So that didn't work. So the sticks are serving two purposes. They're helping me get the rhythm back and showing me the walking rhythm that I need, which is important. They're helping me walk in the correct way, and more importantly, they're automatic stopper to the unconscious trigger that was stopping me from doing stuff, because that is a way of telling myself, no, this is what you're doing. So I'm kind of cognitively changing that unconscious fear by having the sticks, and the sticks were like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I do it, and it's working great. So I'm starting to walk, and eventually I'll walk without the sticks. And that's the part of the first phase that I was doing, that I said I was going to get to. I know this has been really long. Sorry, but if you're interested in this stuff, then you'll listen to it, and I'll try to make them all shorter. Good luck with that, I guess. All right. Anyway, there you go. Thanks again for listening, and I hope this gets you thinking if it's something you relate to. And I'll continue next time. Thanks. Bye.